The expert in anything was a beginner at one time too. And the guys who get drafted, the guys that they want on the team have to prove they can't. The guys who are bubble players have to prove they can. I always wanted to be great. I just wanted to be the best I could be.
Welcome to the Athletes in Sports Podcast. I'm Max Smith. I got my co-host Andrew Deters here. We have a very special guest, Adam Weber, former quarterback for the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Now he's in insurance.
That's right.
But Adam, thanks for being on today. Would love to just kick it off with maybe a story of how you got into football. Was there a time with your dad, with a sibling, with your friends, like what's that first memory you had of getting into football?
Yeah, so my dad played football at the University of Minnesota. And obviously I never saw him play there, but growing up, there was this old VHS highlight tape from I think 1976, maybe 75. I can't remember what year it was. And that was my show and tell, because on that clip, or on that VHS, there's a clip of my dad returning a kickoff against Ohio State, 102 yards. And that was, we were talking about show and tell before, that was my show and tell. And so I was always so proud of my dad and watching that I wanted to be a part of that. And so I got into playing football very early. I started playing tackle football in second grade. Mm-hmm. And then I was playing all sports. So it wasn't just football, but I had a love and passion for football. And then, physically I was of size to play it. And it just progressed from there. But my initial love came from knowing that my dad played.
Mm-hmm. What other sports did you play other than football?
In high school, it was. I guess I did a little bit of track. In eighth grade, I was up on doing a little bit of track for varsity. And then in high school, it was baseball, basketball, football.
Awesome.
Ooh. Yeah.
Was there a point where you knew football was going to take you to the college level, or did you ever have a time where you kind of had to pick which sport you kind of wanted to focus on? Yeah,
luckily at that point there wasn't too much specialization. Mm-hmm. You're being pushed to do AAU basketball and having that eat up your summer, but I never felt the pressure to do that. So I was able to play kind of all the sports when it was their season. Mm-hmm. And I always took the mentality that that's cross training. I was pretty good at baseball, pretty good at football, and okay at basketball type of deal. And when I finished my sophomore year, I went to the Minnesota football camp. It was a 7-on-7 tournament, and I got offered a scholarship from Glen Mason. That's where I knew this was a legit opportunity for me to pursue this. And so that's when, probably right after my sophomore year, is when I was like, hey, I'm good enough to do this, and it's real. Still played all the other sports, but just knew that football was the one that I could lean into more. Mm-hmm. And that was going to be, my ticket to college and playing at that high level.
Mm-hmm. Was there any other schools, or was it always Gophers because of your dad?
I knew I wanted to play in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
And I was very open, and credit to my parents and my dad, and specifically, he very early on in the recruiting process was like, there's never any pressure from him. He's like, this is going to be your decision. If you want to go to any schools, I'll go with you. If there's any camps you want to go to, we can go to them. But never once did he say, you have to go to Minnesota or any pressure like that. So my only other Big Ten offer was Wisconsin, and I was very close to. I know. Well, that's how I felt.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny. It's like hindsight. Wisconsin ended up winning 3 Big Ten championships and went on a run. Not so much at Minnesota, but it was a coin flip. But I felt like I would be turning my back on the state of Minnesota if I went to Wisconsin. Mm-hmm. But I did seriously consider it. But deep in my heart, I knew that Minnesota was going to be the spot. But I did do my due diligence, and I thought about it, and eventually made the decision and felt very comfortable about it, because I thought about it. If I tore my ankle or my knee up and football was out of my life, would I be happy at this school? And I felt that way on campus at the University of Minnesota. So no, yes, it was kind of always there and deep in my heart, but I did my due diligence to make sure that I was comfortable with that decision.
Mm-hmm. Did you always play quarterback, from that second grade when you played tackle football, or did that come later?
No, so second grade I was playing up on third grade football, tackle football, and I was probably like a running back and linebacker.
Yeah.
And kind of did that. I only played quarterback once or twice in like little youth football. When I was coming up, going to be a freshman in high school, I knew I was going to be up on, or potentially up on varsity, and probably like in a running back, linebacker type of position. And the starting quarterback that summer going into my freshman year tore his ACL like 2 weeks before fall camp. And so then it was like an open opportunity at the quarterback position. And I can't remember how many other guys. There were maybe 4 other guys. And they allowed me to kind of try it out or to compete at it. And I was able to win the job then. And so that's when I kind of leaned into the quarterback position. But no, not growing up. I wouldn't have categorized myself, or when people ask you what position you play, I wouldn't have said I'm a quarterback.
Mm-hmm. Hey everyone, I want to take a quick moment to tell you about the In Sports Foundation. At In Sports, we're all about helping kids get more involved in sports. We do this through providing free camps, scholarships, and team sponsorships, all to help reduce the cost of sports and getting more kids into the game. Through sports, kids can learn valuable life lessons, stay active, and maintain their mental well-being. To support our mission and help us get more kids into the game, visit our website at insportsfoundation.org to make a donation. Together, we can make a difference.
So, and when you were growing up, what were some of those, like, you talked a little bit about your dad, but like some of the lessons that your parents instilled in you to become like such a great quarterback, or even just like an athlete in general?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of adversity, even, highly successful people down to, people that don't go on to a high level of sports. You're going to face adversity. I think seeing my parents, how they handled adversity in life, pretty early on, I think I had a cool, calm, and demeanor, never taking things too seriously, like taking them seriously enough, but not letting it to eat you up. I also think playing in multiple sports helped. In football, you get maybe 12 games. In youth football, you get 8 games to learn how to compete and to learn how to fail and to learn how to do all that. And to play on different teams, different personalities, say on a baseball team to a basketball team. That experience teaches you how to win, teaches you how to lose, teaches you how to practice. And so, I don't know. It's like a little bit from my parents, probably, but a lot more from just being exposed to a lot of different coaches, a lot of different teammates. And deep down, I always wanted to be great. And I don't know if that was really installed in me, or if that just kind of was, God-given or from birth. But I just wanted to be the best that I could be. And so that's not to say like you don't have moments of doubt and things like that, but that's what kind of pushed me through the hard times.
Yeah, mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, being in the quarterback position, like that, it's got to be one of the hardest positions in football, just from, preparing to knowing what every single player on the field is doing on your side and on the defensive side. And you're really, you're the leader out there. You're managing everything. Was there a certain routine or technique or something that you learned that really helped you get into that mindset before a game to be that leader out on the field?
There's the quarterback in football. Football is one of the greatest team sports there is. I'm not going to go out and say it's the best. In my opinion, it is. And then at that position, the quarterback is the highest level, or the leader, natural leader of the team, or should be if you have if you're doing it right. I don't know like if there's a certain routine. I think it's just in preparation, and that's true in anything. What you find is going out there and winging it doesn't have you may be successful once or even twice, but over the law of averages, you're bound to revert to numbers or results that probably aren't favorable. And so, what can you control is how you prepare for whether for me it could early on in college it was how did I prepare for practice. When I was competing to even have an opportunity to be a starter, and it was how can I know the system so well that I could allow my natural athletic abilities to take over or to shine. Because if you're out there thinking about, okay, wait, what's the formation? Where's this guy supposed to be? What's the count again? You're not even worrying about the defense, let alone being successful in that play. So I was like, what can I control? I can control knowing the play, the protection, having a good understanding of the defense, what we're trying to accomplish, what's the situation in the game, how much time's left, all those things that I can control. Then allowed me to go out there, and all of a sudden the game started slowing down. I started having a lot more fun with it when you're not as anxious about it because you feel very confident about your preparation, and you know what you're trying to do in that given play. And that's a very freeing thing. And so that's what I've kind of carried in to a lot of things is prepare. You all know this when you go into it and you take a test. I don't know if you guys remember this, but you go in high school and you've prepared, and you go into, you'll flip over the test and you're like, you feel confident. You're just pounding away. You know all the answer, or most of the answers. That's a really cool feeling. Mm-hmm. No different than when you're playing quarterback in football, and you've prepared, you understand. You go out there and you kind of already know what the answer is. That's addicting, and so that's what you kind of just keep on striving after. So how do you get there? Prepare.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the control what you can control. It's such a huge piece. What was your shining moment as a Gopher quarterback? What is your top highlight moment?
Didn't have as much success. There's a lot of inconsistency, not only by my own play, but even within the team, coaching changing and things like that. So over those 4 years, they weren't the most successful. They weren't very successful. That's something that kind of sticks with you. But it is what it is. It happened. But I would say my last game. We're having a tough year, right? Where I think we're, 1-8. I don't know. Tim Brewster's fired. It's your senior year, and I grew up my whole entire life dreaming to be a Gopher, and it's like, this is how it's going to go out. You know what I mean? But we're able to pull it together there at the end. They fired Brewster. Jeff Horton becomes the interim head coach. We end up going on the road, beating Illinois on the road, which is awesome. And then we came back and beat Iowa at home for our last game, or my last game of our senior year, to win the Pig. That was our only trophy game that we won in all those 4 years. And so although it was a really tough 4 years with ups and downs and a tough senior year, it didn't make everything right, but it sure helped to know, you got to go out on a more positive note. Mm-hmm. So that, I hate to say it, but that was probably more of a good highlight was last game. It was kind of fun. Fans rushed. They're probably all drunk, but all the fans rushed the field. It was cold too. Yeah. All the fans rushed the field. I had my friends hoist me up on their shoulders. We had the Pig. So that was special.
It's a good way to go out. Mm-hmm. So what happened next for you? Were you going to any NFL camps, and what kind of where was the next part of that football?
Well, so I started as a freshman and played 4 years. Played in 50 games in college. But didn't get invited to the combine. Okay. So right there, it's okay. And I was training at that point. You don't know, you don't get the invites until whenever postseason. But I'm already training. I went down to kind of Miami, Florida, and I was training down there with a group of guys, and didn't get the invite to the combine. And so I was that's kind of obviously there's not a lot of interest in your abilities, mm-hmm. right? But I was no, I know I'm good enough. All I need is to get my foot in the door. So I continued to train I was going to go to the combine, end up having a pro day at Minnesota. Went fine. That was during the lockout year. So as soon as the draft happens, I don't get my name called. There's a couple of times where I thought I was getting the phone call. That didn't happen. And during the lockout, in typical year, in most years, once the draft is done, you sign as a free agent, right? Right away. Mm-hmm. Your agent's on the phone talking to a couple teams, and you sign. Yep. Well, during the lockout, the league was shut down. So as soon as you don't get drafted, it was just shut down. So then, I had whenever that's in April, end of April, May, June, July. It's nothing. The league didn't open back up until early July, mid-July of 2011. So there's a whole 3 months there, 2.5 months there. I didn't know, but I kept on training and preparing. And luckily, or thankfully, when the league opened up, I had 4 offers or so from different teams. I ended up just signing as an undrafted free agent with the Denver Broncos. Okay. Just as a camp. They don't tell you that, but I'm a camp arm. They already got 4 guys, or I'd been the 4th guy. And I go out there and I play really well. I'm playing my best football ever, really, to be honest with you. Playing really good football, make the team, make practice squad, but on the team and, impressing the guys. And I'm like, man, this is great. I'm loving this. Felt very confident, playing really high level football. Kind of progressed through that, competing to be kind of Payman's backup that next year in OT or in fall camp, and end up losing the job to Caleb Haney. So I get cut, but I sign, either that evening or the next day with Tampa Bay. So all of a sudden, you're on a flight, go down to Tampa Bay with the Bucks, same thing. Like I'm third string guy there, and went through that. That would have been 2012 season, all of 2012, started 2013. I get cut by Tampa Bay, and I was like, I think there's still some left in the tank, but I'm not sure. Obviously, that my abilities aren't needed in Tampa Bay. I had 2 tryouts or 2 invites to the Bills and then Chicago. I don't get a contract. I go up to the CFL. The Saskatchewan Roughriders, apparently they had my rights. I still don't know how it works out, but so I go up there to see if I'm going to make it in the CFL, and I embraced it. Like I was like, yeah, I still got something left in the tank. I don't make the team for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and that was 2014. That's when I knew, like, okay, I think this is time. This dream is sunsetting for me.
Mm-hmm. And like, how did you feel? Was there like a moment where you're like, this is just, I can't keep going on, like just going from team to team to trying out, or
Yeah, no, I know the question. Well, you know what I've come to realize too is, I lost my edge for sure. Mm-hmm. Because when you're a bubble player in anything, but particularly in football and the NFL, there are guys, or even college, any level, there's guys who have to prove they can, and there's guys who have to prove they can't. And the guys who get drafted, the guys that they want on the team, have to prove they can't. The guys who are bubble players have to prove they can. And when in my moments or opportunities to prove that I could, I wasn't at my best. And so, I can sit there and second guess, did I do enough? And the reality is probably I didn't. And so then you go, well, maybe it's time. Maybe my heart's somewhere else. Maybe it's time, because you have to be so sharp. The separation between a starting quarterback and the third string is not much. It really isn't. But it's that slight edge. And I lost that. And I was okay with that because I wasn't good enough. You don't want to be put out in a stadium of 60,000 people and just throw interceptions, right? That's not a fun experience. You want to go out there and you want to play well. Mm-hmm. And so if I was not able to play at that level, then I was like, okay, it's probably time for me to pursue other things.
Mm-hmm. Did you find something beneficial from this Athletes in Sports podcast? Please share this episode with a fellow athlete, coach, or someone who loves sports to help them reach their next level and help kids get in the game. Now, to shift gears back to the Gophers and some of like the hardships that you went through those 4 years, but as you felt that adversity and that pressure, like, how did you kind of handle that as like a kid at that time with, thousands of people watching you and not having the success?
Yeah. Well, there's times where I'd say it would be like after a game and I'd be walking with some buddies in Dinkytown and somebody from across the street might say something, heckle something. And my buddies wanted to go up and get the guy. And it's like, guys, listen, I would give that person, that heckler or that person saying something, the opportunity to come just one time, come to practice, stand in the pocket, and try to execute a play. And you just know that they couldn't. So I didn't hold much validity to their opinions. The only opinions that matter were how I felt about myself and my performance, my coach, and my teammates. Anybody else, not to say it's easy and not to say it's like, you don't hear it. I just didn't hold much validity to it. The tape doesn't lie. And there's times where after a game you didn't want to watch the game tape. Mm-hmm. Because you know what's going to be on there.
Yep.
And it's embarrassing. But then you use that embarrassment or that feeling in your tummy of like, oh, you want to cower away in the meeting room, to be like, no, you can't cower away when things are bad and then boast when things are good. So I've kind of prided myself in always being very consistent through the highs and lows, which means I may not get as high as other people, but I don't get as low as other people. I try to be very consistent. Mm-hmm. I also realize like football, it's just a sport.
Mm-hmm. Right.
No, it's pretty awesome out there. Like the high or the energy of throwing a touchdown pass or executing a really nice play in a game, not many people get to experience that and that moment, that feeling. But it is just a sport. It's not life and death. We're not curing cancer. We're not doing anything. So, I would much rather. And one of the things, I guess, kind of piggyback off of this is, what I'm most proud of in my Gopher career is that I did it the right way. Maybe I didn't play as good at times or make all the throws, but I played as hard as I could every single play. I wore the maroon and gold with pride, and I hope that people look at my reputation as a person that was humble, respectful, treated everyone fairly and equally, and was a very strong Gopher. And that's what I'm like. That's what more important. Now, granted, you also want to win.
Yeah.
It's important to do that too. But I think that's important. That's what I always lean into. Is like I'd much rather be known as a good person than a great quarterback.
You mentioned football as like the ultimate team sport. What do you think makes football that like different than playing other sports?
Yeah. Nothing against, say, like a hockey team or a baseball team. Major league, you can maybe make an argument because people are so diverse of where their backgrounds or where they're coming from. In football, I mean, that's very true. There are people from all different backgrounds, and you come together, and there's different positions too. And again, baseball, I know there's 9 positions, and in hockey there's 5 positions, and but in football, O linemen are their own little beast, D linemen are their own little beast. Defensive backs are their own little thing. Wide receivers they're all these different.
You got the kickers.
Kicker. You have field goal kickers and you have punters.
Yeah.
And there's a difference there too. And you have long snappers. There's all these different things, and you have coaches, and you have all these. There's so many different factors that come into a team, and to be able to lead that, or to have all those people look to you. Maybe not to me, but why that is such a strong team is that when there's good cohesion there, it's not easy to do. Because there's every little position is a little so different, but through that common goal, that common mission of being 1-0 in that game week or whatever their goal is, that's why I feel football is the greatest team sport. Just with how different things are, and to try to mesh that all together is very difficult.
It kind of reminds me of being the leader of a decent-sized company. You've got all these different departments, but you're all working toward a common goal, and it takes a really good leader to bring all those different departments to work together, which kind of leads into to now you're in the business world. On the sales side, what have you taken from your whole sports career, into a business career now? Yeah,
well, there's a humbling moment where you go from playing a sport, something and I played it for 20 plus years. I knew it. I knew it very well. I would say I was a PhD in football, right? And then you go into the business world. So I kind of cheated a little bit. When I got done playing, I got into coaching. So I didn't branch off too far.
Yep.
But not quickly, after 3 years, I got out of coaching because I realized there wasn't alignment with what I wanted out of life in that profession. And so then when I entered, the quote-unquote real world, I remember sitting my first orientation day, and they're like, yeah, so you got to go on Outlook, and you got to set up meetings with people. I'm like, first off, what's Outlook? What are you talking about? And so it was like this whole beginner learning all over again, being a rookie again. And that's not comfortable. It's never fun not knowing something. It takes a lot of mental energy to learn stuff when it doesn't just come. But I remember that in football, where my freshman year at Minnesota, one of the quarterbacks, his name was Tony Mortensen. He'd be kind of sitting back there. We're watching Brian Kupitl play, and he one of the coaches would just rattle off 5 plays in a row of the next 5 plays, upcoming plays. And Tony, he could rattle them off. I barely could remember one of the plays, let alone one word of the first play. So I'm like, wait, what? Solo right? What? It was but because it so well, it becomes comfortable. And I felt so uncomfortable not knowing. So I just remember that feeling, and just when I applied to say the real world, I just knew okay, well, if I don't understand Outlook, how do I figure out about Outlook? Mm-hmm. Right? Or I don't understand, I don't know. Don't be afraid to look new, mm-hmm. right? The expert in anything was a beginner at one time too. And mm-hmm. I've always just taken that. It's those who just give up that don't succeed. So even what I'm doing now, 3 years ago, I didn't really know what being an insurance broker really entailed. But you figure it out, and you ask questions, you ask stupid questions. You don't be afraid to look dumb, and just work a little extra hard. And before you know it, things start just making sense. And so I found that to be true. Sports are a microcosm of that to the real world, but it doesn't just happen. You got to work at it. And maybe it's just consistent. Maybe just showing up every day is it. And maybe that's the secret. It doesn't have to be like earth-shattering. It's just like, today I'm going to show up again.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that's like one of the biggest things with sports is like being comfortable with the uncomfortable. And that translates into everything. And like really like sports is the best teacher to be able to do that.
Yeah. What I've always liked about football is, you know, in life you say you get knocked down, you got to get back up. Well, like in the game of football, you actually physically get knocked down, you got to get
Almost
back
every
up,
play.
right? So it's like a true microcosm of what can happen in life. A game in 3 hours in college, it's 3 hours, or it was 3 hours when I was playing. You can be like in a story of like a lifetime through the highs and lows, you know, being up in the lead, feeling good about it, and then maybe whatever. All the different things that can happen are little mini life lessons along the way.
Well, I kind of wish I never learned Outlook because I spend way too much time on Outlook. Now, Adam, you've got how many kids?
2 kids.
2 kids. And are they at the age where they're playing youth sports quite yet?
So my oldest is going to be turning 4 in October.
Okay.
And so my wife was a basketball player at St. Thomas. So there's kind of the joke, or what I hear is, you know, obviously no pressure on the kid to be an athlete. And I don't think we would ever apply that. If we want them to do something, and I think sports at a youth level, whether you're good or bad, doesn't matter. You should still play because there's a lot of good lessons there, and you should do an individual sport and possibly a team sport too. Just the lessons that can be learned. But you can't just give up on it. But we do have them really up doing all the sports, right? So I didn't grow up playing hockey, but we got them on skates, playing basketball, soccer, flag football, t-ball. You know, you name it, swimming. We'll probably get them in some gymnastics, some type of like martial arts or jiu-jitsu or something.
Yep.
Just get them exposed to everything. And then, you know, if you continue wants to do it, great. If not, you know, we'll figure something out. It's not forced. I mean, right now it's maybe you could say it's forced a little bit, but I do want
it's exposure.
I want the kid. I want my children, my boy. I have a son, Bear, and my daughter, Billy. Sometimes you got to do things you don't want to do, but it's never going to be like forced. So if they never go on to want to pursue athletics in high school, that's fine. But you got to do something. And that's kind of, I think, my mentality, my wife's mentality.
Yeah. And as a father, to be able to let your kids to choose what they want to do, but also like guide them in the right direction and keep them on the right path is huge.
Well, yeah. I mean, if I let my son do whatever he wanted, he'd have candy every single day, you know? Right? So it's like there's certain times where it's like, you know, I want candy too, but that's, you know, we're not going to do that. You got to do what's kind of best for them. And so I remember early on, like I did wrestling as a kid, and I didn't want to go to wrestling practice. My dad's like, well, you signed up for it, so we're going.
Yeah.
Right, so it's one of those things. Don't sign up for it, and then I won't be mad at, or not mad, but I wouldn't be forcing you to go.
Yeah.
So it's like you commit to something, you see it all the way through. You don't just stop, and that's a good lesson there too. Because I mean, realistically, wrestling season was a few months, and it's like every single practice. Oh man. But I learned, okay, the next year, obviously, I didn't sign up for it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you'd go through it and realize, okay, you commit to something, that matters, that's important. So that's a good lesson to learn. It happened to be through sports, but that's something that transcends sports. That thing, like, your word matters. And hopefully that carries over in my life, and hopefully I can install that into my children. Doesn't have to be through sports, but maybe that kind of portrays itself through sports. Then that characteristic, that trait is sharpened for them to be successful in life.
Final question for you here, Adam. So if you were to give one piece of advice to an athlete, you know, maybe they're, you know, coming up through the middle school age, and they, you know, they've tried a bunch of different sports, and maybe they're deciding on which one they want to focus on. You know, what advice would you give to that young athlete? Don't wish away time. I see a lot of kids wanting to just go play college, or just get that scholarship offer. And, you know, it's like high school sports, just using football as an example, or baseball, all the sports I played. There's nothing like it. These are all my buddies that I went to kindergarten with. You're in such a rush to get to college, and it's like, now granted, there's some really cool things about my experiences in college. And there's something very unique that my high school buddies won't understand, but there's nothing like that of playing for your community. And so I would say for these kids that are younger coming up is
don't wish away time. Don't have the dreams and aspirations for sure, but also appreciate and enjoy where you're at today. And don't feel like you need to specialize or focus on one sport. As my dad told me early on, the cream of the crop rises to the top no matter what. And you're going to feel pressure to specialize because that's, in order to get an offer, you got to specialize or to do this. And it's like, well, no, sometimes that's not what matters. What matters is like enjoying it, the experience. So don't feel pressure to do something or to specialize, and enjoy where you're at, and don't be in a rush to get to the next thing.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Adam, for being on the podcast today. Really appreciate it. We'll be cheering for the Gophers.
Yeah, let's go
here, and hopefully we'll get out on the golf course soon.
For sure. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Athletes in Sports podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and want to hear more from inspiring athletes, we encourage you to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on all of our social media channels.